The framing of Janice Dean's life at 55 as a tragedy is not accurate when compared with her real-life situation, because while she has experienced genuine hardships that have deeply affected her emotionally and personally, her overall life is not defined by collapse or heartbreak in the sensational sense implied by viral headlines, but rather by resilience, advocacy, and continued professional activity alongside ongoing health management and public engagement, as she is widely known as a longtime meteorologist and television personality who built a successful career in broadcast media, earning recognition for her energetic on-air presence and communication style. And beyond her professional work, she has also faced significant personal challenges, most notably her diagnosis of multiple sclerosis, a chronic condition that she has lived with for years, which naturally brings fluctuations in energy, mobility, and daily well-being, requiring long-term adaptation and care, but which has not stopped her from continuing her career or public voice. And in addition to her health journey, she experienced profound emotional loss during the COVID-19 pandemic when members of her husband's family died in long-term care facilities, an event that deeply affected her and led her to speak publicly about nursing home policies and accountability, turning her grief into advocacy and placing her in the center of a broader public debate, which brought both support and criticism, as is often the case when public figures engage in politically or socially sensitive issues, and this combination of personal grief and public scrutiny can be emotionally demanding. But it is important to distinguish between hardship and tragedy in the sensationalized sense often used in online narratives, because Dean has continued working, speaking, and participating in public life, rather than withdrawing or experiencing a complete breakdown, and she has used her platform to raise awareness about both health-related issues and policy concerns, showing a consistent pattern of resilience and engagement rather than withdrawal. And while managing a chronic illness alongside emotional stress is undoubtedly difficult, it is not equivalent to the kind of irreversible or devastating life collapse that dramatic headlines often suggest, and in fact many of her public statements reflect a determination to keep moving forward, focusing on family, recovery, and advocacy work, which demonstrates agency and strength rather than helplessness. And it is also worth noting that her situation illustrates a broader reality about how public figures are often portrayed online, where complex lives involving health challenges, grief, and professional responsibility are reduced into emotionally charged narratives designed for attention rather than accuracy. And in Dean's case, the reality is a balanced but challenging life in which she continues to navigate multiple roles as a broadcaster, advocate, wife, and individual managing a chronic condition. And while those responsibilities are not without difficulty, they do not define her as a figure of tragedy, but rather as someone actively coping, contributing, and adapting. And that distinction is important because it shifts the focus from passive suffering to active resilience, highlighting the ways in which people continue to function and find purpose even in the presence of hardship. And ultimately, her story is better understood not through sensational framing but through the lens of endurance, where personal loss and health challenges coexist with ongoing work, public engagement, and a continued effort to make an impact, showing that life at 55 for Janice Dean is not a story of heartbreak alone, but one of complexity, strength, and continued forward motion despite difficult circumstances.